kindergarten, I went to a school called Furley Elementary. Then 1st through 6th, a school called Most Precious Blood, MPB. They shut down around the same time a lot of other Catholic schools in Baltimore are closing down for whatever reason. And I guess whoever was applied to go there the following year was just sent to St. Anthony's, just a little further up Blair Road in Gardenville. That was 7th and 8th grade. And then from high school, went to Baltimore School of the Arts.
There?
Yeah.
And what did you study there?
Visual arts. Drawing, painting, design.
And then once you got out of school, what did you do?
Straight to work, traveling, playing music. I mean, not a whole lot of traveling in the beginning, but working with the same singer I've been playing with for almost 20 years now, and just trying to get the group together to hit the road. In high school was a little easier because you had a place to live for free, you know, and you can kind of, whoever had a truck, everybody had a free weekend here and there to go to New York, Philly, or DC or something somewhat close like that. But yeah, I mean, that's basically just been playing music and just working restaurant jobs or construction jobs since 17, 18. Success is a weird word. I mean, I don't know. I gotta, like, you know. Well, for me, you know, I just wanted to use my band as a traveling device. You know, playing the music I like to play, obviously, and hang out with my boys. But I never traveled much growing up. You know, like I said, the only place I ever took myself to, I took myself, not my family. You know, first time in New York to see a show, second time in New York to play a show. And let's go into a class trip to DC. You know, it was all about traveling. So I wanted to see the West Coast, see the Pacific for the first time from the van of a car, and I mean, the window of a van. I mean. And I did, and it was fun. And I think, you know, playing to sold-out shows, playing in almost every major city I can imagine I've never been to before. I mean, every city I've been to outside of the Northeast, I've been to solely for the purpose of playing music. You usually play to fewer people than you expected, and you usually make zero to less money than you thought you would. Directions are always wrong. Places to stay are always further than they say. Crowds are usually, you know, when you're playing to a specific genre of music, you're usually used to what people you're going to have around you. So that's a good thing, you know. It's you know, you're always, at least you have your genre of friends or soon-to-be friends, you know. Likewise, bands, you know, sound-wise and personality-wise, you know. And that kind of leads to fashion and haircuts and instruments and musical equipment in general, you know. It's kind of cool being in a state where somebody breaks a string and you can, like, you know, a Les Paul's available like that. People are cool like that to help you out. And, you know, you got to borrow an amp. It's no big deal. But yeah, I mean, after the last couple times I went out, I started realizing everybody's got the same haircut, same jeans, same, you know, people pigeonhole themselves, obviously. But, you know, I think all those are good things, you know, at the end. Can't trust them. Take everybody with a grain of salt, you know. I mean, not to stir up any mucks, but, you know, I've definitely been in bands with people where I didn't trust 100%. I've definitely, you know, and being on the road, that's kind of tricky. You know, not even just because they're untrustworthy, but because they might be a little gullible themselves and naive and let people in your van, or, you know, or loan out your bass when you're not definitely, you know, cool with that at that particular person. And, you know, I have to have rehearsal spaces where people let other bands in and kind of sublet your gear out. I mean, there's cruddy shit like that, and, you know, you kind of, you have the good and the bad with everybody, but I think across the board, like I said, once you're playing to a specific crowd, you sort of know what band you're going to be with in particular cities and what kind of places you're going to be hooked up with. You know, some people are more partiers than others, and you know you're not going to get any sleep. Some places are more accommodating. You get the older cats that, you know, own their own houses, and you're going to respect it a little more and have a better chance to relax. That's always nice.
Describe your sound.
My band sound is probably a cross between 70s New York Ramones punk rock meets a touch of the Guns N' Roses guitar-friendly classic rock roots hybrid. You know, kind of a, not just punk rock, but definitely more on the punk sound, but more guitar solos, more guitar-friendly, a little more song structure than your typical, you know, 4 verse, 2 chorus, back and forth. You know, try to throw in a little more. Nothing elaborate, you know. Try to keep it more aggressive than most bands in Baltimore, at least, without being metal. That's a fine line. You know, you can, all depending on your riffing and your guitar tones, you can easily cross a border that you don't want to. So we try to keep it more traditional with like vintage sounding guitars and, you know, straight screaming AC/DC style vocals and, you know, slightly political. Before I worked here, bartending, I was a trash hauler, demolition worker. Pretty much anything you can fit into the back of the truck. You know, I've moved antiques, cut lawns, trimmed trees, you know. Some of the things are real dangerous. You know, that could be considered interesting, I guess. But, you know, I've moved things out of the second story window that were twice my weight and held on for dear life. And there's other times where I've been, you know, rats crawling up my legs. And there's other times where I've did a recycling job for a woman in Federal Hill one time who met us out back in her robe. She was obviously wearing nothing underneath. 2 hours later, we hit the recycling center at the dump, come back. She's got another pile of boxes and she's dressed the same way. And this time she's had like half the day to get dressed. She was a little flirty. And we get to the place and we start dumping the stuff out, you know, separating the paper from the plastic or whatever. And it turns out she was I guess she worked for a porn company where she put together the boxes for VHS tapes. So there's all these weird promotional posters, you know, all filthy, like kind of the beginning of the computer era too. So it was these weird, what's the word now? Virtual sex toys, and, you know, the goggles and the gloves, kind of like photon for sex. And it's, you know, you meet weird people like that all the time, and you're on the road all the time. Haulers are a special breed. I mean, my guy was a college grad, and I worked for him. He was smart about things. If there's people that you'd meet on the side of the road, I mean, I've seen mattresses flying off the Key Bridge, you know, stuff like that. Here, I've seen fights, you know, I've seen crazy political arguments that wound up being way too dramatic, you know, that they shouldn't have gotten to that point. But alcohol, you know, alcohol and politics are a bad mix. I mean, most people worked here, not so much when I first started here, but over the years, more and more artist types, or musicians especially, worked here, and we kind of help each other out, you know. Everybody, you know, across the board in the city is a bartender or some sort of restaurant gig for the, you know, you got your flexible hours, people, like I said, working with you that are also in the same bag, so you can trade each other's shifts off, you know, the money's kind of consistent. Contacts galore when you're behind the bar. It's not to mention just the contacts and people you meet, such as you, and, you know, just other venues and finding different kinds of work, but aspect of sort of being on stage and the lights being on you and the people facing you all night long, you know, I think it kind of is just natural allure for me. I always feel at home behind the bar just as much as I would on stage, and any group situation I feel like I kind of have to entertain. It's like my MO. Well, every bartender, especially myself, we're the most underpaid psychiatrists. I mean, I have people on a daily basis. I mean, for daily, I mean my shifts. And you have to know everybody's story, everybody's life story. Everybody brings you their drama, and you kind of have to not connect yourself too deeply, but also, you know, give them a level of concern that to me comes naturally. You know what I mean? Like I'm a listener, and I can definitely make you feel at home. But at the same time, take somebody's drink order and come back to you, and I can have 10 different conversations going on at once. I mean, you sort of have to, you know. I mean, I know bartenders that ignore people, and that's their job, and it's just, here you go. For me, it's more the interaction, and you know, and it feeds you too. Because, you know, I mean, I try not to dump my problems on people, but there are people after years, especially doing it in one particular place, you meet people that are like your family after a couple of years. You know, your staff and your customers that are, you know, the people you fall back on for advice or whatever, you know.
What's your favorite sound in the world?
Sound?
Yeah. Any sound.
It's funny because I heard an interview with Johnny Depp, or read an interview, and he's talking about his favorite sounds. And I always answer that, but I'm sorry, his least favorite sounds. I'm trying to think of my favorite sounds. But my grandmother's voice, a good guitar tone, laughter, skateboards. I like the sound of skateboards a lot. Trains, definitely. Rolling trains and rolling skateboard wheels. To me, I walk with a beat. I hear music constantly. I dance with a beat. I wear my clothes the way I feel comfortable in my own skin, and on stage is the most comfortable I'll ever feel. You know, And I think that kind of means at work too. At work, on stage I can definitely be a little more dramatic with my look, or whatever. But it's all about showmanship for me and my boys. We're not a boring band to watch, and I don't think I'm a boring person to be around. My conversation might be sort of limited, but I think at times it's, I can talk about anything because I'm a people person, but when I'm on stage, I do think back up, so I get a little bit of that out of me. I get to scream my head off a little. Even if I don't have a microphone, you can sing to whatever you want to sing to, just like the audience does. But that participation is where I feel most comfortable.